Hey everybody. So I have had something bugging me for quite a while now, actually ever since I bought this scope, and I wanted to go after it because I'm tired of it. And what I think I have going on, I'll explain here in just a few minutes. Anyway, stick around and let's see if we can solve this problem that I think this scope has. My name is Doug and this is AstroAF. All right, so the backstory on this is that ever since that I purchased this telescope, I've noticed some deformation in my stars, and it's they look a little squashed, they're a little bit distorted. Initially, I was seeing what looked like diffraction spikes, or just one diffraction spike, and there's no set pattern to it. It's not radial, and I just couldn't put my finger on what the problem might be. And then a couple days ago, I was having a discussion with my friend Naz from Nastronomy. I'll link to him here. And I showed him some of the images and what I was looking at because I was doing image analysis. I was looking at sensor tilt, which I do have a little bit of sensor tilt, but I'm going to address that separately. And it may be that if I'm able to correct what I think is going on here, that might improve what I'm seeing for the sensor tilt, but we'll see. But he called out that this looks exactly like pinched optics. And I was like, oh, it hadn't even occurred to me. And so I went and I started comparing my image to some other ones that I saw posted around, like Cloudy Nights and some other places, and especially with some images of collimation that I took, and I'll put those up here too, that indicated to me that this was exactly what I was seeing and didn't recognize. So I wanted to show you what I'm seeing and pointing out as what I think is pinched optics. Hopefully that will help you be able to identify what pinched optics looks like. And if you are seeing something similar in your images, maybe this might help you, or at least give you an indication of what to look for. But what I think is, so I've had this problem ever since I bought this scope, and I know that the previous owner replaced this dew heater ring on, replacing the corrector plate ring, the factory one from Celestron. And I think there's a potential that the screws on the dew heater ring could be over tightened. That's one thing. The other thing is that these collimation screws for the corrector plate could be over tightened. And I've read that that can happen coming from the factory too. I don't know if the previous owner experienced this problem. It wasn't called out to me when I purchased it, but anyway, I'm hoping that this could be potentially an easily solvable situation. I'm going to point this up at the zenith, and in order to help ensure that the corrector plate doesn't move, I'm going to leave the dew heater ring tight, and I'm going to go around and I'm going to back off each one of these collimation screws and then tighten it back to where it should be. And then once I have that done, then I'm going to go around and I'm going to loosen and then snug back up each one of the screws around the corrector plate here for the dew heater ring. And we'll take a look at that. And I may need to get into the secondary here, and I might remove that and basically reset the collimation on this and go through a full collimation process, but we'll see if I need to get into that. Once I get this done, and if we have some decent weather tonight, if it's a little bit clear, I'll try to get back on the same target and get another image so that we have a comparison of before after doing this and see if we realize any improvement. Anyway, we'll get after it, and here's those images, and I'll talk about what I'm seeing in those. So to begin with, I wanted to look at this in the aberration inspector of AstroAF. And this just as a good example of what I'm seeing. So these stars, they just seem flat, and there is this distortion or this aberration that kind of extends out from the star, and we can see this in multiple places in the stars. And if I go and look at the full image, or zoom in down here to the lower right, so we've got a pretty consistent extension of this distortion that's shooting down toward the left. And going up to the top corner, I've got the same thing here. I think what's interesting is if I move over into the center, I start seeing it in both directions. But over here on the left, instead of extending downward where it would be in a radial pattern, we're extending upward and to the right. And, you know, back over to the center a little bit, you know, we're extending up and to the right until we get to a certain place, and then we're kind of going in both directions. And then if I go down to the bottom left, we can still see that it's shooting up and to the right here. So it's an interesting pattern. It's this is what initially made me think of sensor tilt, but I went and looked at sensor tilt, and I looked at it in serial, and I do have sensor tilt. It's 10% or more. The good thing is that this is an octagon measurement, and I do have a square here, so the sensor's not out of alignment in a complex way. And I verified that looking at it also in, well, I guess I also looked at it in AstroAF, but I don't have that up right now. So anyway, this is the problem that I'm trying to get to the bottom of. And, you know, I guess the other thing that I want to show you is the collimation images. So let me pull those up. I'd forgotten I also had these contour maps that I was looking at with regards to my sensor tilt, and these also correlate to what I was seeing in the tilt measurements. So here at the bottom right corner, increasing up to the top left, we can see the camera sensor tilt. So I think this is probably playing into it. And then the contour map here on this side, this doesn't look as bad. There's 0.45 to 0.65, but when I was looking at my collimation, that I did this a couple of weeks ago, I had seen this flat spot here, and this is the out focus collimation, and then over here this is the past in focus collimation. And what's interesting about that is we see this aberration going down and to the left here, at the opposite position of out of focus than we do here. This is what I went and looked at, and I saw images like this where people were reporting like the astigmatism and the pinched optics, and showing images that looked very similar to this. So that's why I was thinking, while I do have some sensor tilt, that my main problem with the star aberrations could potentially be from pinched optics. All right, so I've got the telescope pointing up, and the reason I'm doing that is so that gravity's not working against me. I want to make sure that the corrector plate doesn't have any reason to move anywhere, and I am leaving the dew heater ring tight to hold it in place, because I'm going to loosen up each one of these set screws, and I believe there's 4 around here. They're a 2 millimeter, and these should just be nipped and not over tightened. And so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to do these one at a time. Just going to loosen, and then I'm going to tighten again and see how tight these are when I remove them. If they feel like they were over tight, that might give me an indication that this could potentially be the problem. So I'm just going to go ahead and do that. That one was not over tightened. nor was that one. And I'm doing the same thing on 2 on the back side here. So this one was a little bit tighter than the other 3. I don't know if I'd consider it over tight, but it was different. So I'm going to go back through, and I'm just going to touch and barely nip each one of these. And that's it. All right, now I'm going to go around and do the same for the dew heater ring. This is a number 1 Phillips, by the way. Did not feel over tight. Neither did that one. That one felt good too. All right, well, I think everything felt good there. So maybe something in here. So I think that I will plan taking this secondary out and then putting this back in and doing a collimation. Yeah, because I don't think any of the adjustments that I just did around here are going to have any impact on this. All right, I'm going to tilt this down a little bit further. Maybe a little bit at a downward angle here, because I'm going to remove the secondary. Let's remove this ring. And we'll pull this out. And so there's the secondary mirror. It looks like that needs to be blown off. I'm going to put this back on here. All right, I'll take the secondary up and put it on a table and we'll work on it there. All right, so I've got the secondary here on the table and I've been inspecting it, and to be honest, it looks nearly perfect. I mean, the gap along there's nothing way out on this. I don't see any reason to actually mess with it. The mirror looks good. I did a quick blow off. It had some dust on it, but it all blew right off and nothing stuck, so I'm not going to do a cleaning on it because it's fine. And yeah, I think I'm just going to put this back in. So I am a little bit confused as to what the problem could be, but let's go put this back together. Now, one important thing I'll show you here is there's a little set screw right there, and that's an alignment screw. There's a little notch over here on the optical tube right here that set screw slides into. So very carefully center that and slide it in. And I have that set screw aligned into the notch. Now that feels tight. I wonder, that just doesn't feel right. Now what would cause that to feel like it's hanging up? I wonder if when this is getting tightened down, since that's kind of, it just felt like it's binding. I feel like that should go in easier. See, right now, that's actually tilted. I think that is strange. Yeah, because right now it's almost, I don't know, it's about 1 millimeter down here, but it's like 2 millimeters at the bottom. Let's see if it's just needs to be perfectly square going in. Okay, there we go. Now we're in all the way flush. I wonder if it's possible that that was canted in there slightly. I did not check that when I took it out. So anyway, maybe there's one thing that could potentially be the issue here. I'll go ahead and put this retaining back on here. And this does not get over tightened at all. All right. I'm going to set this back up and wait for dark. There's a great big bee there. So that should be about right there. And this will be over here. And I've got this big bee right here. I don't know if you can see him. Not trying to bug you, bee. Okay, so really all I can do is just, we'll see if we can get an image tonight. It's cloudy right now. It's supposed to be cloudy tonight, but there is some clearing, and I don't need a whole lot of time. I didn't make any changes to the secondary, and I'm expecting that the collimation is still going to be pretty good. I might have bumped it. You know, we'll see if I did. I might tweak it in. I don't know that I did anything that corrected anything. So this may end up being a video where I'm asking for your help. We'll see. I'll be back after dark and hopefully tonight, if not the next night, and I'll get some follow-up images and we'll see if there's any changes. All right, so it's another day. We've had a couple days since my last clip that we had nothing but rain, and we still got a lot of clouds. It is actually supposed to clear up tonight, and so I'm going to take this opportunity because there's one more thing that I can have a look at, and I think it might be likely I might find something that could be the cause of this stigmatism that I have. And what I'm going to do is take a look at the collimation of the corrector plate and the position of the secondary as related to the primary mirror. And the way I'm going to do that is I'm going to set this up and point it at a camera. I have the tripod over there set up, and I'm going to get that lined up so that I can look straight down the optical tube and check the concentricity of the mirror and the circles of the different components of the optical tube. And from that, I should be able to tell if I have to adjust the corrector plate. And I did some preliminary shots of this. It looked like it was indeed out. Didn't look terrible, but it looked like it was out, and it could be enough where the combination of the corrector plate out and then trying to compensate for that in the collimation of the secondary mirror could, in my mind, be the cause of this problem. So anyway, we're going to get into that. I have to do some setup, try and figure out how I'm going to get this all lined up, and then I'll walk through what I'm doing. Let's see how it goes. All right, to begin with, I'm going to try to get this as horizontal as possible. I'm going to use a level for that, and I want to get this oriented so that it's in a position that I can get as accurate a view in with the camera and try to get lined up from my tripod. So I'll go ahead and reposition this. So I'm checking level on this horizontal, and then I'm going to flip this around. I'm going to look at it the other way. I'll double check this with the level. And then once I get that level, I want to go ahead and lock that in. Okay, so with that, I can go ahead and set up the camera and tripod over here looking into the end of the telescope, and we'll take a look and see what we've got. All right, so I've got my initial setup. Got the telescope set up here and leveled, and it's pointing directly over at the camera. So this is going to give me my view down the middle of the OTA and have all the different circles concentric. Here, I'll switch over so you can see that. So here's the view of my camera. Me walking behind it. Get in a position where my shirt is behind there. I tried using the trick with a piece of white paper here in front, but that really failed. So anyway, I think I'm going to be able to tell what needs to be done here. And like I said, if I get behind with my shirt, that can help a little bit. This doesn't look too bad right now. It might be cheated over to, I think, the right just a little bit, or cheated over to the left a little bit, or this is a little bit wider than this is over here. And we're going to find out. I need to remove the secondary and open that up, and then I'll have a better view. So I'm going to go ahead and do that, and then we'll get a better look. Okay, so I've got the corrector removed, and then if I get my white shirt on this, where I'm standing right now, there should be a white line coming up around the right-hand side of that. As I move over, you can see that we've got a gap on the left, and it comes around, and then it gets tight and sort of in the upper right area. So I think that's the way that this corrector needs to move. So I'm going to get set up to make this adjustment, and we'll walk through it. Okay, there's only two tools needed for this. Got a 2mm Allen wrench and a Phillips screwdriver with a number 1 Phillips bit in it. And so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go around the do-ring, and I'm going to loosen these the same amount for each screw. So maybe I'll just count. Here, let's see what the first one is. I'm going to do 1 full turn. All right, I think that should be loose enough to allow this to move. And then I'm going to shift this up. It will a little bit. It moves just slightly. Tightening these back down just a touch. And then we'll look and see how we did again. Let me double check these. All right, let's see how we did now. Okay, so now we can see we're getting a gap over on the right. And I think it needs to go just slightly more. So we'll do it one more time, the same amount. And again, I'm going to do this one a quarter turn, loose, and a quarter turn. And a quarter turn. Up where it needs to go. Did not move. Another 1/8 of a turn. We'll try again. Okay, I got just the slightest in there. And I'll tighten this until it touches. I'll do the same for the rest of these, just tighten until they touch. All right, and again, inspect. Okay, a little too far, so we'll back it off. All right, I'm gonna back this out about 1/8 of a turn. And I should only have to loosen this one about the same, and this one about the same. Now before I tighten that, maybe it's a good idea to have a look. Just a little bit more. All right, after tweaking this a few more times, I think I've got a really good collimated corrector plate. That looks really good. It's a lot better than what it was. I can see that gap all the way around. It looks like it's fairly even. All the rings look concentric to me going outward. So I think with that, now we just need it to get dark. And it's hot out here. Whew. And I'm going to get the secondary mirror put back in. And then I believe that probably that is going to be out of collimation, because it was in really good, the secondary was in really good collimation, but now that I've moved and collimated the corrector plate, that was probably compensating for the corrector plate being out, and I would expect that collimation for the secondary is going to be bad now. So we'll find out tonight. I'll get on a star and we will see how this turns out. And I'm really hoping that this resolves this problem with the astigmatism and deformation of the stars. So just crossing my fingers on this one. Be back after a bit. All right, so hey, I have gotten set up, did a polar line, and my initial focus without touching anything looked beautiful. The stars for the short exposures were pinpoint little dots, which is like really, I don't know if I need to get my hopes up yet, but they looked really good for just some 6 and 10 second exposures. And I'm going to head over here to Nina, and I want to take a look at my collimation and see how it looks. And so anyway, let's head over there and I will show you what I have set up, and we'll go and see if we need to do a collimation on the secondary. Alright, so over here in Nina, I'm really pleased with what I'm seeing right off the bat. If I zoom in, take a look at some HFRs with annotations. So I haven't done a focus. This was just with my last focus, and HFRs look really good. Good enough to do what I need to do here. 2.74, 3.5. So it's pretty good. I'll do a autofocus here after. I think I'm good enough. So I'm going to see if I can center this just a little bit more. Okay, that's pretty good. Alright, I'm going to take this autofocus out. Let's see if I can get lucky. And let's see, that's going to be, what is that going to be? That's going to south a tap and west a tap. I think that looks pretty dang good. I always get these confused. Maybe it's north a tap, and I believe west a tap. Okay, that looks pretty good. It's not perfectly centered, but I think it's close enough. Sure seems pretty good. I think I'm going to go the other direction for focus here. We'll try 10,000 below focus. Maybe another 6,000. Yeah, there we go. Let's do another 5,000. So yeah, I think that looks pretty good for a in and out of focus collimation. So I think I'll get into focus, and I'm going to put a Bahtinov mask on this and see what that looks like. I've got a tri-Bahtinov mask that will help me check. So give me a few minutes here and I'll get set up for that. Okay, I ended up spending actually a pretty significant amount of time tweaking my autofocus because it was really messed up from the changes that I made, I guess. But I chased the numbers around a bit and I have a decent focus curve now. And I'm going to check this against the Bahtinov mask here in just a second, as I had intended to do, but I just didn't expect my autofocus to be so bad. I thought I do get a lot of questions about my autofocus settings, and I'm planning on doing another video on just on autofocus with SCTs, but I thought I'd go ahead and share my settings here, my basic settings. I've got advanced settings over in Hocus Focus that I'm using, and honestly I need to continue working with my autofocus and get it, where I want and repeatable all the time. So these are subject to change, and they are related to my telescope and my focuser, and so your mileage will vary. But just to give you an idea, with my AstroAF electronic focuser, I'm looking at step size of 650 and a out backlash of 2152 right now. So anyway, if that helps you or maybe gives you a place to start, then cool, give it a try. And I always take a screenshot before I make changes in case I need to revert back. So now I'm going to go ahead and go out and fit the Bahtinov mask on, and we'll take a look at Alcade here in the Bahtinov mask and see how we're doing for focus, and then also should be able to check and see how collimation is with the tri-Bahtinov mask. So be right back. Okay, so I've got my Bahtinov mask here, and it's important to make sure and get this aligned. These come together and form like arrows, and the arrows need to be lined up with your collimation screws. I need to modify this mask to fit past these little pins. There we go. And then just making sure that I've got those arrows lined up. All right, and I'm going to take an image and we'll zoom in. All right, so let's zoom in on that. And wow, it looks really good. Enable that. And then up in the top corner, we've got our batten off box. I'll put this over here. I'm going to make that bigger. I'm going to make that 400 by 400. All right, only 1.75 pixels out of collimation, I think. So that's really good. I think that we are ready to start an imaging session. Okay, so what I want to do now is go get on SCT I and we'll take an image to compare to, yeah, there we go. And I'm going to go ahead and slew and center on that. And then guiding, we'll take a look here in a second when this settles down. I should be in focus here. We'll start guiding as soon as we get on this. All right, there we go. All right, cool. Let's go ahead and start guiding. I'll let the guider settle in. And while it's doing that, I'll go over to the imaging tab, and we're just going to take a 5-minute image. One by one at 120 gain. And watching our guiding here. It's a really good start, 0.34. I imagine that's going to go up, but okay. Wow, 0.33. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and start this imaging, and then I'll be back once it's done, and then we can go through and do some comparisons to what I had before. Okay, so the image finished, and right off the bat, my guiding is sitting at 0.663 right now, and it actually hung out at 0.4 and 0.42 for quite a while. So it seems that collimation has shaved off a couple points of my guiding deviation. I'll keep this running and when we come back. So I got this image and I just transferred it over, and let's go over into PixInsight first. And so here's the image from a few days ago that I had shown earlier with the aberrations in it. And let me open this other image here. All right, and let me apply the screen transfer function. Okay, and then I guess let's open up the aberration inspector let's see, image analysis. We'll just use the defaults. And let me select this one and see if it'll run it again. I think it will. So as you can see, I mean, these long tails on the other image, look at the stars are tighter. These are pretty close to the same areas here. I think it's mostly telling right in here that this, I think this looks better. So let's go over and do the same thing in AstroAF. So this was the image from before. I don't think I can open them up at the same time. Maybe I can. I'll see if I can. Is that giving me both of these? No. Okay. Okay, so here in AstroAF, I'll go ahead and run the aberration inspector. And so, yeah, I mean, this is kind of weird looking because these stars are so close together here, but I don't see the same pattern that we saw before. I'll open up the other image. And so you can see the difference there with this has those spikes on it. So I think that's really good. Let's go ahead and I'll open up the other image and we'll take a look and see what it says for tilt. So I think that's, yeah, 9 to 11. That's kind of consistent with where it was before, I think. I think I have this up in serial still. Let's, so 9, 11, 10, 11, 9, 9.55. So they're coming up with some differences. So let me open this in serial. All right, so let's show tilt on this image. Yeah, so it's fairly consistent. So I think tilt is something that I'm going to look at, and I think I mean, that's 8.94. I think this is actually improved over the other one. 10.9 to 9.7, 9.39 in the middle. So I think that I realized a bit of an improvement in tilt as well. And come back and check on guiding. We're at 0.61. So I think overall, you know, I'm like super happy here. All right, yeah, so honestly, collimating the corrector plate, I have improved my guiding. I have gotten rid of those aberrations. My stars are much improved over what they were. There's still a little bit of softness to them. I don't know if that is my seeing conditions tonight. It is pretty humid, but it is much better. I think that it looks a lot better in the aberration inspector, and so I'm going to call it a win on the improvement to the image. So I think this was so worthwhile, and I think with that I'm going to go ahead and get an imaging session started and call it a night. So I really appreciate you hanging out and watching this video. I hope this helped you if you're having similar problems and have been kind of struggling with your star shapes or anything, that you know, maybe this is something you might look into. If it has helped you, you know, and you feel like you'd like to support this channel, you know, you can certainly do that by hitting the subscribe button down below and giving this a like and sharing with someone that you might think this video might help. And also, if you'd like to go a step further, I have a buy me a coffee, and you can become a member there for as little as $1 a month. I also have affiliate links that are all down below. So if you're planning on shopping for Astro over at Agena, I have Agena Astro affiliate links. And I also have all my gear in Amazon affiliate links as well as a buy anything at Amazon link. So if you're planning on shopping for something and would like to support this channel, I make a small commission at no additional charge to you, just by you clicking on one of my Amazon links and making a purchase. So anyway, thanks again. My name is Doug, and this is AstroAF.